Hello everyone, this is Jotto, and welcome to the patch review. Yes, we've been waiting for this one. Now, I have not been making videos recently, have I? Not entirely my fault. Yeah, anyone that's seen my streams recently knows that my mouse broke. This is a new one. And streaming with no mouse? That's annoying. Recording with no mouse? That's infuriating. So I was like, nah, not doing it. And for those of you that haven't made videos before, basically the reason is because when you're trying to speak a thought process, you want to move around and show the cards, which you can't do without a mouse, very efficiently at least. So anyway, bit behind, but today we're doing the patch review for Spellweaver with all of the fixes post-expansion, which was needed. And then tomorrow I'm doing a Elder Scrolls Legends review, and then throughout the week after that I'll be doing some deck techs. That's the plan. I'm bad at keeping plans, but that's the plan. But anyway, let's get on with the video. We will start with some bug fixes. I'll link the patch notes in the description. So anyway, all cards are available in Trials again. They disabled some that were problematic until they could nerf them. Making a creature non-flying automatically moves us to the front line, which is only relevant with Mantle of Winds, I guess. Fixed a bunch of crashes, and they have fixed two bugs that have been around for ages and were really annoying. The first being that some combat animations didn't remove shield emblems sometimes, which sounds game-breaking, but it was so rare that it never came up anyway. And the other one is they fixed the HP being displayed incorrectly after combat involving ranged creatures. That is a bug that's been in the game for so long it's insane. So yeah, they finally fixed that one. So no more health totals that don't make any sense. Alright, on to the balance changes. We will start with order. Militant Citadel. So all of the shrine cycle from the expansion got changed to single level, which makes a lot more sense because they're all based on level 1 creatures. However, the mana costs were adjusted in a lot of cases. Militant Citadel was not adjusted in mana cost, leaving its ability at 1 aspect for order and 0 mana, 2 turn cooldown, and the next level 1 creature you play this turn costs 1 less. That is quite a substantial buff, and I mean a substantial buff. It means you can actually get things like Angel Blessed Knight out on turn 2, basically giving Order a new horizons, which is a very big deal. Although they don't really have a mono Order 3 mana 2 level guy to play afterwards. I guess you can play Namir the turn after, but yeah, that's a bit awkward. But anyway, the point is you can get it out on turn 2, which actually helps with Runelit Incarnate openings, which is quite nice. The other thing it allows you to do is get stuff like Night Recruiter. I think it's Night Recruiter. The guy that makes a token. But anyway, you can get him down on turn 2. You can get Felix down on turn 2, actually giving you a reason to play Felix over Elite Vanguard. Yep, that's actually a pretty big deal. If you're not playing soldiers, you actually have a reason to play Felix over Elite Vanguard. Outside of Instill Life. It's a toss-up on which one's better. But anyway, the point is those two cards are comparable now. One has better late game in the fact that it's more powerful on its own. However, it does not come back through Instill, and it's not a soldier. So it's a toss-up on which one's stronger, and not just like, hey Felix, get out of the way, there's already a vanilla 3/3 in the game. So yeah, Militant Citadel is actually quite a nice card now. I don't know how powerful it is, but it is definitely useful, as opposed to the previous one, which just wasn't. Pegasus has been given another ability. Whenever an allied soldier or knight enters the field, you may put Pegasus under it to make it a 2-speed creature. This is really weird. It's like a mount type thing, which is cool, by the way. So, here's my problem with it. Most soldiers and knights have 2-speed or higher, which means if you put Pegasus under it, it's a drawback. You down a creature, and what are you using this on? Because you're down the Pegasus, keep in mind. So, what on earth are you using this on? Cataclysm Protection, I guess? Zombie Legionnaire, that's a 1-drop. There's no other things I can think of. Is Dread Knight actually a knight? Let me go check this. I'm actually not sure if Dread Knight's actually a knight. Alright, Dread Knight's a knight. You can get 2-speed flying Dread... Wait, does it even give flying? Okay, it does give flying. That's a bonus. So you can get your flying. The flying's more important than the speed. That's for sure. The speed's actually a drawback sometimes. I'm going to say this card is still not playable. Soul Projection. Soul Projection has been buffed from sacrificing a creature to distribute X damage, where X was the sacrificed creature's attack, to twice that number, which apparently was what they tested with, and the reason it was so weak was that they released a version of it which did not have the double in it. That's kind of funny. But anyway, so what do I think of Soul Projection? I'm not sure. The problem with Soul Projection is you still need to sacrifice a creature. So against aggro decks, if you're against Rage, it gets a bit awkward. But Order doesn't need help against Rage. So what are you using this against? Elves? Sure. 6 damage to their board. Yeah, that could be decent. You still can't deal with Nienna, and that absorbs 2. I'm not sure. And against Control, it does nothing. Against mid-range decks, it could be good, but I don't think this is the time for mid-range, because Cataclysm is going to be everywhere. So, I'm still not sold on Soul Projection. I'll put it that way. You got Our Barrage for early game, and you don't need it late. Insignia of the Sun. Second ability has been changed to look at top 2 instead of the top card in general. Still only 2 energy. Okay, so you have a 50, like, if you have 30 soldiers and knights in your deck, which is quite a lot, that's higher than normal, you've got a 56% chance of drawing 2 cards, and yeah, that's not good. It just isn't. It's not good. The first ability is more of a win more than anything else, and the channeling ability is a bit useless sometimes. So it's still 3 mana, maybe draw 2 cards. Most of the time, you'll be getting at least 1. Let's see if I can get my calculator here. But yeah, so because you're looking at top 2, if you have 30 in deck, let's see if I can just do this quickly. I did the other percentage, but I did not do the miss chance. So you got like a 6% chance of missing both. I mean, yeah, 6% chance to miss both. That's kind of brutal. I'm still going to say this is not good. I think it needs to look at something like top 4 at this point, so you get some selection in your card draw, but yeah. Anyway, Prosperous Ruling is the final buff for Order. Prosperous Ruling now refers to whenever a creature enters under your control and not whenever you play a creature. Still terrible in my opinion. You still have to pay 1 mana to gain 2 life, which isn't very good. You have to pay 2 mana to draw a card, which is just terrible. And the Might Emblem, sure, you can get it on tokens now, woo. Still 3 mana 4 levels, and if they have a unicorn and you can't, like if you play Prosperous Ruling on curve and they play unicorn, you're dead. Like you're down a turn at that point, and you also have to go 4 levels. And they have a 2/2 with 3 speed. It's just rough. So I'm going to say Ruling is still bad, although it's not as bad as it was. On to Wisdom. Ancient Ruins. Now is 1 level to activate Rune of Insight and 1 mana, 2 turn cooldown. Next time you play a level 1 creature this turn, draw a card. This is very powerful now. Talk about a double buff. Now what this allows you to do is use Ancient Ruins on turn 2. And you can go 1 drop, turn 2, Ancient Ruins 1 drop, and draw a card, which is huge, because that means you're at parity on turn 2 on the cards, and from there you can start getting advantage. That's quite powerful. It's probably the best of the cycle now, and okay, it's definitely the best of the cycle now, and is it good enough, though? Maybe. You do need level 1 creatures to get it to work. That's a bit awkward. A lot of the Wisdom stuff is double level, but maybe you play it just to cycle your 1-drops late game if you're playing like Kayanu or something. I mean, Kayanu Blue has, what is it, 8 level 1 creatures in it? Charged Dorite and then Runelet. I'm probably missing something. No, I think it's just Charged Dorite and Runelet. Is that worth it? Maybe. Hard to tell. With Enchanted Spring as well, you can start generating more cards, but that seems really gimmicky. But anyway, hard to tell, but I think Ancient Ruins is playable now. Now, Shock has been redesigned to power Discharge. Power Discharge has choose one, shock a creature, freeze a creature, or deal 1 damage to an enemy creature, draw a card. Now, this is quite a substantial upgrade. Before it was just shock. Freeze is much more powerful than shock, and the 1 damage is basically a turn 2 Word of Fire, which may actually be very, very useful. It is on your New Horizons turn, though, so I'm not sure if you really want to be using that in defensive play. Hard to tell. But it's definitely more playable than it was, and I think it may actually see some play. Maybe a blue-red deck? I don't know. Difficult to tell. You may actually have to run blue-red now. Mono-red seems like it could be really strong, but you still have to get past Descendant. Descendant of Divinity single-handedly annihilates Rage, so maybe splashing blue for shifting alright, Flash Freeze or Power Discharge. Yeah, I could see it. How good is it? No clue, but I could definitely see trying it. On to Renovation Facility. Very, very small change here. Basically, when you upgrade an airship into a Steel Sentient, the Steel Sentient moves forward. Nice quality of life improvement. There is one downside to this buff, which is some weird some weird situations where I'm trying to think is there really anything. Hour Barrage, I guess. No, I can't really think of anything that would, like, potentially having it on front row is bad, but I can't really think of anything that targets front row. I guess Burke. That's really specific, though, so yeah, I think this is overall a buff. And a nice one. Infused Subordinate. Infused Subordinates had its mana cost reduced to 2 mana, 2 levels, and its ability has been changed, the first one at least. So whenever you play a spell, you may pay 1 to put a Might Emblem on Infused. That's a double buff, which is quite funny, because temporary bonus is far weaker than the Might Emblem. Not in all situations, but because you do have to pay for this one. But in general, I actually like Infused Subordinate now. I think it might see play outside of Dominion. I don't see it in Wisdom Dominion, because if you're playing New Horizons, it does not fit. If you're playing Implants, now that's interesting. That's more interesting because you can get card draw off it. Implants doesn't really have a 3-drop. They mostly just use the Raven. Maybe. Maybe Infused Subordinate works in the blue Implant deck. However, outside of that, I think in general this is just a solid card. Outside of Dominion, you don't really need the card draw in a lot of situations, and the fact you can generate Might Emblems is actually quite nice. It's also a 3-speed creature to curve into Library Guard, so you can dominate at 3 speed, which is actually quite a nice benefit. Lastly, Snowstorm now does 1 more damage. I'm still going to say this is terrible. I mean, the patch notes, developers like notes thing they did for it, did say, well, +1 damage is a lot more than it looks. It better be. I'm still going to say this is terrible. I could be wrong, but I'm still going to say this is absolutely awful. Because if your opponent has 2 2/2s, it kills one, I guess. Freezes the other. That's a plus, I guess. But if they have 3 2/2s... Actually, the 1 damage does make it better against 2/2s. Okay, I'll give you that. It makes it better against 2/2s. You will kill 1. For 3 mana and 2 levels. But you will kill 1 at least. However, as soon as your opponent has a 3 HP creature, it kind of doesn't work anymore. So you need to combo it with something, and I think the combos with Snowstorm are so mana and card intensive that it's better just to run Cataclysm. So yeah, that's my verdict on Snowstorm. Alright, on to Nature. Nature got a lot of changes. Moonlight Monument. This is the Skill Shrine. Now, the Skill Shrine now only has a 1-level requirement. So now you've got same requirements as Elven Sanctuary. Almost same effect, not quite. And it has 2-turn cooldown. Now, this is really interesting to me. Elven Sanctuary is better as a combat trick. However, Rune Might actually works quite well because of the 2-turn cooldown. However, there is one problem with it. Doesn't work on Ambushing Sharpshooter. It's a really big issue, actually. Not being able to buff an Ambushing Sharpshooter as you play it is really bad. And it means that if you're playing Elves at all, you just want Elven Sanctuary over this. The cooldown reduction is just not worth it. +1/+1's a bit of a mundane effect anyway, and Elven Sanctuary hasn't seen that much play since its nerf. So I'm not sold on this seeing play. However, it is at least in the same conversation as Elven Sanctuary, whereas it really wasn't before. Reverence. Yes, Never the Revered, the nerf that actually we were all expecting, and this was a suggested one. Reverence is now capped at 3 activations. So now you have the next 3 creatures cost 1 less. Cool. That fixes all the Dominion problems. It fixes the fact that Hate Bears is completely unbeatable late game. And it doesn't really affect stuff like Care Bears, which is nice because that deck wasn't overpowered. So, yeah, I like the change. I like it a lot. This was actually the exact suggestion which I suggested and quite a few other people did as well. Just cap it at 3. And, yeah, it will still be played, but it will not be completely overpowered like it has been for a very long time. Fleeting Ferry, complete redesign. Now, Fleeting Ferry is now a 1 mana, 1 nature, 1/1 with 2 speed and flying. It's a fairy. And if another fairy you control would die, you may sacrifice Fleeting Ferry to return it to your hand instead. I'm going to go out on a whim and say this is completely terrible. The reason it's completely terrible is because 1 mana, 1/1, 2 speed flyers are not good enough. We've seen this before. They need to have absolute insane abilities in the case of stuff like Charged Ore. Or in the case of Nightbringer, the Demon Tag. So, yeah, 1 mana, 1/1, 2 speed flyers are awful. The second ability does nothing, more or less. Yeah. Like, you can save... What, Empress? There's the Multicolor Heroic, I guess. There really aren't any fairies that are worth saving with this thing. I guess you can bounce Storm Fairy back to hand when they try and kill it. That's really random, though. Yeah, I'm not sold on Fleeting Fairy. But anyway. Ritual Gardens. Now, Ritual Gardens currently reads, and I'm not sure if this is misworded or not, but anyway, it currently reads, the wording's been changed. Put a non-fairy creature with mana cost equal or less to the number of fairies you control from your hand onto the field. It does not exhaust your fairies anymore, and it does not have the nature restriction anymore. 2 fairly interesting restrictions taken off it. Now, is it good enough? No. I'm going to say no. The reason for it is because there's just nothing you can put into play that's worth having 4 fairies in play. Like, if you have 4 fairies in play and you go Ritual Gardens, yeah, that's amazing, but how are you getting 4 fairies into play? I mean, you can do something crazy like play 4 fairies and then Elgaron, which is crazy now since Elgaron got buffed. Or you could do Karthus or Red Dragon. It sounds insane, but you have to get 4 fairies in play. If you get 3 fairies in play, you can start ramping out a little bit. With 2, you can ritual for stuff that has very, very high level cost. That's kind of a thing. I'm not sold on it. But anyway, it's more interesting than it was, that's for sure. Don't think it's that good. Although, it does have a rather insane interaction with Library Guards. But that's 3 mana, so you need 3 fairies to do it. So, yeah. Basically, it's a 2 mana LG, and they both cycle. But anyway, so... yeah, I'm not sold on Ritual. Also, it says draw a card. Kind of. You're still down a card because you put a creature into play. It's more draw a card because the effect is kind of mediocre. It looks insane, but it just hasn't been. Morning Fairy has been buffed. It now only costs 1 nature. Now, this is because with Reverence fixed, Morning Fairy is completely pointless. And, yeah, at 2 levels it was. Because with Reverence fixed, you can't do the only thing that people wanted to do with Morning Fairy, which was draw their entire deck on turn 7. So, yeah, basically you could use Bloodborne Prince and Morning Fairy and literally draw your entire deck. You could just keep playing stuff in Dominion and then sacking it, and then as soon as you ran out of creatures, you just started playing Fleeting Fairy and bouncing it using the excess energy, and as soon as you got multiple Morning Fairies, you literally drew your entire deck. It was completely insane. It wasn't, like, it wasn't overpowered, it was just silly. Like, sometimes it worked, and sometimes you did 30 damage to your opponent in 1 turn, but with 1 creature. But in general, it wasn't overpowered, it was just dumb. And it was kind of an example as to what was wrong with Reverence. So anyway, Morning Fairy did get the buff. Now, is it worth it? Now, we got to compare this to a certain other fairy, which has the same cost as this now, and is 2/1 and 3 speed flying. Is the 1 speed better or worse than the 2 abilities of Morning Fairy? I'm going to say better. Or equivalent. Probably better. And as a result, I'm going to say Morning Fairy will not see play. Moonlight Patrol. Poor Elven Skyrider. Moonlight Patrol has been buffed to 2 mana 2 levels. Now, the difference between 3 mana 1 level and 2 mana 2 levels is so insane, it's just ridiculous. You would not expect it to be such an insane buff, but it is, believe me. So yeah, Moonlight Patrol is actually quite powerful now, and I think we'll see play in Care Bears, because you can Call of Yulia it, and you can use it as part of your turn 3 Summon a Druid combo after you've done your first... Because that deck loves doing the Call of Yulia for the missing combo piece, and then you go Summon a Druid into like a Elven Warrior or a Silverfang, and then next turn you go Elite Vanguard and CFC. The problem was there weren't any... Like, there was Unicorn, I guess, kind of, but there weren't really any nature... 3 drops that you could 2-drop. And Moonlight Patrol is actually a nice one. You got Flying, which works very well with the buffs, and it snipes Library Guards, which is actually a big deal. Sniping Library Guards is a very big deal. It also works very, very, very well as an extra set of Foundry Engineers for Charged Ori openings in Kayanu. Which means Kayanu Blue is probably back. Is it back? Hard to tell, but it might be back. You've got, I mean, it's been kicked out the metagame for a while now, but you've got Moonlight Patrol, works really well in that deck. You've got Shifting Ori, which becomes a 2-1 range, 1-drop, which is, yeah, it's good. You've got Thionor for your first activation. You've got the new Elf that can become a 4-3 ranged and can attack back row. Like, maybe this deck actually works. Apart from the fact that Landslide got completely gutted. But maybe this actually works now. Difficult to tell. Worth trying, though. Speaking of Landslide, oh boy, the boogeyman of the format for the past 3.5 months. So for those of you that haven't been paying attention, Landslide has been part of every conquest strategy. Every conquest strategy for the past 3 months starts with ban Landslide. No joke. Like, seriously. Everyone ran a green deck, it didn't matter what the green deck was, and you banned it. And if you didn't ban it, you lost to it. The only person that actually wasn't using that as his main strategy was Laurentio, but he was using implants. But the rest of the things were like, and that was more because of Wisdom Dominion control being awkward. But anyway, so the idea was ban green, because Landslide. It was just insane. Now, a lot of us had some good suggestions for Landslide. Like, send 1 to hand, 1 on top, maybe make it double nature and do that as well, because you want to still nerf elves a little bit, maybe. I don't know, do something to delay it a bit, make it a little less powerful. And they completely murdered the card. So, what it does now is you put 2 cards with mana cost 2 or less from the field on top of your their owner's decks. This is now complete trash. It's an awful card. It's basically a really expensive splitting head egg that doesn't always work. Yeah. So you can get rid of some small creatures. And then they're down a card, since you're down a card as well. So they're down 2 cards, you're down 1. But they're not down any tempo. And that sounds decent until you realize the stuff you were landsliding that was important to get rid of was stuff like Library Guards, can't target it. Mutant, can't target it. Djinn, can't target it. Vamp, Lamp, these are completely untargetable now. Which means pretty much every single target for Landslide no longer can be targeted by Landslide. Which does definitely mean that we're into the Wisdom Dominion meta from here, because Hate Bears got completely butchered. Like, not just Reverence. Landslide Vulture doesn't even work anymore against that deck. So, yeah. Just run Tornado Outbreaks. I'll put it that way. Just run Tornado. Don't run Landslide anymore. It's not a good card. And the last nature change was a buff. Elgaron the Eternal now has a base damage of 2 on his AoE ability, which is a massive buff. The difference between 1 and 2 is colossal. It also means that you only need 1 Elgaron in the yard to buff it up to 3 damage, which is an advanced Zash activation. That is a lot of damage. Like, damn. Elgaron, I actually do want to try Elgaron, and I want to see if he's playable, because he does kind of massacre other creature decks. Not so much against control, but he does completely massacre creature decks now, and that is really, really strong. Reanimator definitely got a new toy to play with, since Elgaron is very powerful now. If you play 4 Elgaron in your Reanimator deck, and you mill over, like, if you mill over an Elgaron, and then you discard the other one, and then you reanimate him, you just board sweep him. Even the first Elgaron is a board sweeper now. The 2 damage on turn 4... I mean, forget Bezerok killing like 2 creatures. Elgaron will sweep the board, and then the next time you reanimate another one, it'll probably deal 3 damage. And then 4. That's probably the maximum you're getting it to. But yeah, then you can do 4, and it doesn't affect her in Harpies, which is kind of big. Does have a downside. Basically useless against demons, mostly. The only front row stuff they really have is Bedeviled Fiend and Infected Survivor, which both kind of dodge this. However, it is a 6/6, which they can't kill outside of like sacrifice effects, which I guess they got Sanctum really early. Maybe they can deal with it, but 6/6 is a big dude. So yeah, I think Elgaron is good now. Will he see a lot of play? Debatable. Yeah, debatable. It's hard to tell where he fit is the main problem, but for now, yep, definitely a lot stronger. On to Rage. Fire God Temple. Do I even have to read this card? It just has 1 level, and yeah, it's still terrible. Moving on. Blood Frenzy now costs 1 mana. Now, this is the Self-Whirlwind that sort of is a removal spell and is more just a forced labor enabler. But, Blood Frenzy seems really strong now. I'm not sure how strong it is, but it seems really strong, especially considering that Red-Blue may be a deck now. Yeah, Forced Labor Blood Frenzy hurts, like a lot. It deals 6 damage effectively, and then also they have to take some damage. And if you've got Flash Freeze set up, oh god, like, you can also do really, really stupid things, like have, if you're going second against Wisdom Dominion, and you go something like Lizard, and then the Slave Orc, and then your opponent has gone New Horizons, and then they go, like, actually that board's immune to mutant, so I guess you go, like, Library Guards, right? And then your response is Blood Frenzy plus a 2-drop. Like, you don't even lose tempo anymore to that. Like, I think that Wisdom Dominion is going to need a kicking from some Rage decks, so I'm happy about it, and I think Rage gets kept in check by order, which means that maybe Red-Blue will come back. Like, Red-Blue has been a deck in the past, and the problem with Red-Blue was that there wasn't any incentive to actually run it, because Word of Fire was so powerful that you kind of depowered your own deck to make it more versatile, which was not worth it. So, yeah, it didn't work. However, now, well, you've got access to stuff like Flash Freeze with Blood Frenzy. Which could work on a small scale, but I mean, you still have the damage distribution issue as a removal spell. But you've got Flash Freeze to deal with Ascendant Divinity, for instance, which could be really, really nice. And Blood Frenzy is now a tempo gain if you get the good starts, which means that the good starts are now completely unstoppable for control decks, which is a good thing, because I think the only thing keeping these control decks in check is going to be ridiculous, crazy Rage starts. So yeah, Blood Frenzy is really good. Also, works with Burning Rage. I had to bring it up. 1 mana cycle. Offering Guard Priest is really strange now. His ability's been changed to put Might emblems on it for each totem you control. Does not include ones in your graveyard. Now, they mentioned this. They've nerfed it because they want to buff the other totems without creating a 50 damage combo, which is appreciated, because that's basically how totems worked. Where totems were just really bad, and then randomly against a control deck, it's like totem, 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 draw the whole deck. 4 Offering Yard Priest, swing! 50 damage, and it was like, okay. So yeah, they toned Offering Yard Priest down so that they can actually buff the other ones, so that's appreciated. Wall of Flames has been given the clause draw a card when it gets destroyed, so it's like Angelic Song. Still completely terrible, but it's like Angelic Song. Yeah. Flame Rune Warrior has been changed to do his damage at the end of turn, not beginning. That's quite a substantial change. I still don't think he's good. He does work with the Shrine a bit better now, since you can go 4 mana, put a target emblem on something, and then play, with Flame Rune Warrior you can put another target emblem, and then you've got a, like, mini Fire Blast, sort of. I don't know. This target emblem thing just didn't really work, did it? But, it's interesting. It's not Fire Blast, but it's interesting. And I think I'll leave it at that. Totem of Rogan has 2 speed. Moving on. it's still bad. Is my point, but anyway. Ruination, 4 mana, 1 rage, 1 generic, destroy up to 2 artifacts, draw a card. Now, this is substantially more powerful than the previous Ruination because it cycles itself and you don't destroy your own artifacts, which is appreciated. Is it good? Probably not. It's better, but yeah, probably not. I mean, against Vamplamp, maybe. You can cycle it just randomly since it does destroy up to 2 artifacts. So you just can play it and then just choose no targets to cycle it, but that seems terrible. But maybe. In a heavy Vamplamp metagame, maybe. But I feel like you're still going to die to just Vampirism and Djinns, which is what usually happens. So probably still not going to be played, but a nice retweak to the card. On to Dominion. Now this is where a lot of people expected changes. There were less than expected, but I think these are the problematic ones, which I'm kind of okay with. There was a bit of a joke in chat, actually. It's like, I mean, it's kind of like, say, Ivco had like a sister that plays Wisdom Dominion or something, because this deck has been insane since like the game's inception. Yeah, Wisdom Dominion is going to be another couple of months of Wisdom Dominion being everywhere, because you know we haven't had enough of Wisdom Dominion. It's been around for so long, it's insane. It's not even the fact that it's been around. I'll just get this over and done with now. It's not even the fact it's been around. It's been tier 2 or better for the last like year and a half. I mean, come on. But anyway, moving on. So Assassin's Guild is now just 1 level. It's still the same card. We'll probably not see play because it's just too much competition. Cloning Vat has had 2 changes to it. First is that it only summons level 1 slaves and not 2/2s that just can attack randomly, which is appreciated. Second thing, it can only be used during your turn, which stops it from butchering lamps and creature combat. Also appreciated. Will it see play? It should, but it might not because Underworld Scourge, which is the reason why it wasn't being played in tournaments in the first place. Like, a lot of people have said it's like, oh, Cloning Vat's not being played in Wisdom Dominion, therefore the card is bad. And I'm like, no, that's not the reason. The reason is because Underworld Scourge was everywhere. Like, it was every other deck, pretty much, was playing Underworld Scourge. And everyone knew that pretty much every other deck had Underworld Scourge in it, so why would you add a 2 mana cost card to a deck that has no Underworld Scourge targets? Seriously, Wisdom Dominion had none. Everything cost 3 mana or more. There were no targets in the entire deck, so why would you add one? And that was basically the logic behind it, and it will probably continue to be the logic behind it. Still going to be very, very good in Trials, and it still has a lot of its utility. As long as Underworld Scourge is around, though, this will not see play. That's basically what's happened. It's been completely suppressed by Underworld Scourge. Underworld Scourge did take a hit in this patch, but not enough to stop it from just being very widely played. So yeah, Cloning Vat probably won't see much play. It is a very powerful card, but it kind of reminds me of the time when Unicorn and Gnome could destroy spells and artifacts, and Lamp, 3-speed Lamp, an incredibly powerful win condition, wasn't being played a lot because everyone had like 3 artifact destructions in their deck. That's kind of what it reminds me of. Cloning Vat is incredibly powerful and its time will come, but for now it is not the case. Soul Flames, this is just wording update. When it destroys an enemy creature, you lose life equal to its current HP, and when you sacrifice a creature, it's base HP. So yeah, just wording clarification. Scatterer's bidding has been changed so that its effect only does equal to half the empty mana crystals rounded down. I would say I would say that I missed this card, but I don't. Good riddance. Just go away. I hate this thing. Yeah, Scatterer's Bidding is possibly one of my least favorite cards in the game, and it promoted just playing bidding and just sitting back doing not a lot. You could just do random things like play library cards and draw cards and play lamp and activate lamp and play like a vampirism or something. Then end the turn and gain 10 life. And it's like, and it stops your opponent from doing stuff. It was just so frustrating. So yeah, now something to note about this, by the way, is that you can still gain something if you only have 2 mana left open, because the 3 restriction is gone. However, here's the problem. So let's look at Scatterer's Bidding before. You play it, probably at about 6 mana that turn. So you play it, you use a hero power, you gain 3. What happens now? You gain 3. Okay, because it's 6 halved. Alright, you gain 3. Alright, that seems decent. So what happens if you have 10 mana and a bidding in play and you spend everything? Well, normally you'd have gained 7 life. Now it's 5. And then 11 mana is still 5, not 8. And then it gets worse. Now, will it still see play? Probably. I hate this thing. But yeah, probably. I don't know if it's good enough. But it might. It still gives you incremental life gain and will still let you get towards the life gain win condition. It also punishes your opponent for doing anything, which is really annoying. They're pretty much going to be taking damage no matter what they do, unless they do stuff at instant speed, which is what Rage will be doing. But in general, I still hate this thing. It's way weaker than it was, but it's also more irritating, which, yeah. I don't like bidding. I really hate this card. I really hope they redesign it at some point, because I think it's still going to be obnoxious in its current form. Like, you're not going to be gaining massive amounts of life like you could before, but you're still going to be gaining quite a lot of life, and your opponent is going to be taking, what, 5 damage over 2 or 3 turns? It's really obnoxious. So, yeah, I still hate this thing. It also causes really, really awkward Wisdom Dominion mirrors where nothing ever happens. So, yeah, Dominion changes. They nerfed 2 of the problematic cards, but expect a Wisdom Dominion meta. I'll put it that way. Expect another one, because you still have Cataclysm. It still cancels out pretty much every mid-range deck. And the decks that were using the anti-Cataclysm creatures, like Flesh Sculptor, are just not, like, Hate Bears can't compete with Control anymore. It just can't. And Care Bears has Gurkha Tribe Shaman, but that wasn't good against Wisdom Dominion either. Which means that we're pretty much going into a metagame where it's just aggro decks and Control with no mid-range in between. Because if you play mid-range, you be aggro, and then you get flattened by Control. Like, utterly destroyed by it, because if they draw 2 Cataclysms, the game's over. Even 1 sometimes. Alright, on to the last aspect, Corruption. Mausoleum of the Damned. 2 mana and 1 level. I actually think this is weaker. I actually think they've nerfed Mausoleum. Yeah, okay, maybe. I guess zombies could be really strong moving forward. Hard to tell. I mean, they couldn't leave it at 1 mana, 1 level. They couldn't. That would be way too powerful. So, yeah, I can see why they upped it to 2 mana. I think that Mausoleum may still see some play, but I'm not convinced. Underworld Scourge. Dr. Styx himself has received 2 nerfs. The first is to his attack. It's 3 attack. And the second is that whenever you destroy a creature or artifact, you lose 2 life. Okay. He's still too good. Like, he's still a 5/4 late game. Granted, he's not as much of a, like, well, you can just play him in demons and play tons of them. Yeah, you'll take 4 damage extra, which you can't really do. but he's still really good, like really good, and he still deals with stuff that Corruption normally can't, like Namir. I think that there may very well be a Wisdom Corruption, like casual Darius build that's really strong. How strong is it? No clue, because it'll probably just lose to Control. But difficult to tell. Still going to see play in Demons, obviously. It'll still see play around. I think the other major downside to Scourge for this patch is actually more Hate Bears as nerf as opposed to anything else. But I mean, he's actually better with Rygon, which is kind of awkward, because Rygon now turns into a clock for both players, which is kind of funny, actually. And the question is, what do you run as a second color? I mean, not second color. What do you run in Dominion now? Because Cloning Bat got tweaked down. I guess you can still run that. Cloning Bat was a bit awkward in that deck anyway, because you kept making Underworld Scourge for your opponent. So yeah, there may be a Corruption Dominion deck that absolutely obliterates aggro. That was basically my experience playing that deck. But, well, you die to Cataclysm. I'm going to be saying that a lot in the coming months, aren't I? But anyway, so yeah, expect to see me playing a lot of decks that don't care about Cataclysm, like Crazy Rage. But yeah, Underworld Scourge is still going to be around, and he's still super strong. Ziara, complete redesign. Other non-spirit creatures get -1/-1 whenever a non-spirit creature dies. Summon an Enchained Soul, and Enchained Soul creatures you control are no longer slaves. Also is a 5/4 now. This is cool. It gives you a way of fighting on higher speed, which is very, very nice. And the tokens are substantially better when everything else is weakened. It also has a really random drawback of being very weak to Flame Serpent. Now, but Ziara is definitely a better card. Will it see play? In Reanimator, definitely. Outside of Reanimator, probably not, but maybe. And that's the point, maybe. So they actually, like, Ziara is definitely a better designed card now. It doesn't do this weird infinite loop thing with Reign of the Underworld anymore. But, yeah, not sure how strong it is in practice, but it definitely looks better. Bezarok. Slight change to his second ability. Well, it's actually quite major in practice. When Bezarok dies, summon demons with a combined level of 3 with different names. Which actually is huge. It means that you're going to be getting either Vulture plus Styx, or you're probably going to be getting Succubus most of the time, I should imagine. Or maybe Azarhiss. If you still want to run Mill, maybe Azarhiss. But you're probably going to be getting Succubus most of the time, and then using Succubus and Ziara for damage in Reign of the Underworld decks, as opposed to Mill, which is what the previous win condition works. But it also works really, really well with Elgaron, because Elgaron, he board clears, and then he's a 6/6, so he can start putting in the damage quite fast. So yeah, maybe Reanimator switches over to damage as opposed to being a Mill-based deck. And that's the entire patch. What do I think of it? Now, this is interesting, because going into this, yeah, the metagame in Spellweaver has been a bit miserable for the past 2 weeks, if I'm perfectly honest. It's been a lot of very draw-dependent decks, where it's entirely dependent on who draws more of their overpowered cards, which was really silly. And I'm not exempt from this. I've been playing Hate Bears, which is entirely based on how many landslides you draw sometimes. But, yeah, in general, the entire metagame is just based around a few very, very broken cards. Is it still now? Sort of. It's less based around certain very broken cards, however, it's still based around it. Like, Burning Rage is still very, very strong, but there may be an alternative because Blue-Red looks like it may be decent. So it looks like there's some synergy alternatives to power now, which is good. The one that worries me is Wisdom Dominion. That actually concerns me, because I feel like Conquest moving forward is going to be exactly the same as last month, where it's just going to be build 3 decks to beat Wisdom Dominion, and one of them is Wisdom Dominion tech for the mirror match, and we will play mirrors constantly. At first glance, that's what it looks like. And I was talking to a few other people that were in the Great Rebalance Project Skype chat, and seem to be agreed on that. So that's not good. However, Conquest, I mean, I've gone over it a ton before. Conquest has some seriously bad flaws, and it seems like they're showing more and more the more we play with it, because the more people understand about the format, the more obvious the flaws of the format become. But we'll have to see. I think the first Masters, the next upcoming Masters after this patch, is going to be the really showing sign as to whether or not it is Conquest that's just kind of broken, or whether or not it's something to do with the balance. But up until then, I'm not sure. And disconnect for inactivity. 45 minutes. But yeah, up until then, I'm not sure. I wouldn't put too much stock in golden tickets. Golden tickets have a fairly high caliber of player. However, in reality, only about 5 of the 16 people that are playing in golden tickets are really that prepared for it. In a lot of cases, because it's so difficult to actually get the golden ticket, because it's only first place that gets it, a lot of people just kind of play with just decks they normally have, and then if they get lucky, they get it. But yeah, the real showing sign of how healthy the format is going to be Masters and the end of season ladder. So pay attention to those. But anyway, so I'll be making some deck techs probably later on this week and next week. And my next video will be an Elder Scrolls Legends review, which I've been doing a decent amount of streaming for recently. I'm kind of alternating between Spellweaver and ESL. And it is quite a good game. So I'm going to be doing a review video on that tomorrow. But anyway, thank you all for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe. If you have any feedback or want to ask me any questions, put it in the comment section below. If you want to support the channel directly, there is a link to my Patreon in the description. There is also a 75k gold code that also gives you the Disquisitive Spirit Card Back for new players. But as for now, it's been Jotto, signing off.